just saw it with Miami Dolphins.
The pressure, he's in trouble. Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it!
You have got to be kidding me.
Jalen Waddle. It's a Dolphin touchdown. Throwing deep upfield on the near side. Man open. Touchdown! Looking deep. He's got a man. Touchdown!
The run from Tua Tagovailoa.
Touchdown!
He's going deep. He's got it for the touchdown. He's in. Let's go!
Tagovailoa trying to pick up for it. Fire to the end zone. Touchdown!
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan.
Let's go!
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one. I hope everyone had a fantastic weekend as we welcome you back in on Monday. Man, the Senior Bowl is officially over. Just because of the Fangio hire that pushed basically everything back for me. But we're going to talk about the Senior Bowl this week. Tomorrow night, me, Martin, and Ballgame are going to be dropping part 2 of my analyzing the X's and O's of Vic Fangio. Tomorrow night, we're going to do the film study. So, we got about 21 plays we're going to break down, 12 different coverage calls of Fangio. So, just to give you an idea of what he likes to do, some of the stuff. Now, there's no 6-1 tilt because, why? That's the most played out thing. You know what I mean? Everyone talks about it. You know, we even just showed the video when we did the first episode of breaking down the X's and O's. So everyone knows about the 6-1 tilt. There's nothing new there. But we're going to take you into, I'm going to visibly show you the coverage calls I was talking about, right? Right? So fist, pounder, finger, we're going to show you those amongst other coverage calls that he likes to run. So tomorrow night's going to be a good episode. Then Wednesday night, Fin Too Deep will be back. I think Thursday is when I'll probably dive into the Senior Bowl, either with Neil or I'll do it myself on Thursday, and we'll do Fin Too Deep on Friday. Either way, jam-packed week coming ahead of you. Basically, looks like do the math show every day. So we got a bunch of stuff going on. Yeah, listen, I know everyone's talking about quarterbacks right now and everything. Like, I've been talking about Jake Haener on this channel for quite some time. And when he won the MVP, Dolphin fan and Martin were the first people I messaged because I put them on to him a while ago. Now, I'm going to tell you, there's like 4 developmental guys I would like. And if you want me to go in order, I can pretty much go in order for you. He'll be gone, but Tanner McKee out of Stanford. Then I like Jake Haener. Then I like Clayton Tune, and then I like Max Duggan. Jaron Hall out of BYU. Yeah, he's okay. But those 4 guys I like as developmental flyers. Those guys I like as developmental flyers. But as we get into the needs here, I think we're past the point of drafting a quarterback. All right, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. I would rather just roll with Skyler if you're gonna draft someone. So one of the two is going to get cut and thrown to the practice squad. We ain't going to carry 3 quarterbacks again. So, now I'm going to tell you this right now. Let me keep it a buck with y'all. If Tanner McKee fell in my lap, I'm sorry, Skylar Thompson. There's the door. I wouldn't even think. I Stanford quarterbacks, man. Stanford quarterbacks. Right? Even Jake Hayner's a little bit more intriguing for me than Skylar Thompson out of Fresno State. But I don't know if I wouldn't take Clayton Tune. I wouldn't take Max Duggan. I wouldn't take Jaron Hall. I wouldn't take those type of guys over Skylar Thompson and where he's at right now. I just wouldn't. But at the end of the day, I do think it's smarter to invest money in the backup. I don't think this is a situation where this year, and we'll get into it when we get into needs, this year is going to be too big of a year. Too many pieces are in place. I'm sorry. We cannot have a 3rd, 4th, 5th rounder walking in there. So, yeah, Rome, I'm telling you, bro. Tanner McKee, there's something about him, man. I think that's going to be the guy who comes out of nowhere in this draft and hits large. I think he's got that big potential, Tanner McKee. I really do. And EM and Martin know how much I love that kid. Love that kid. I just haven't had to publicly talk about the quarterback situation. Everyone knows I love Levis. Everyone knows I've talked about Hayner. I have talked about Tanner McKee a little bit, and I have talked about Clayton Tune a little bit. But I haven't had to regurgitate this stuff because, personally, even if we were moving off Tua, unless I'm trading up to go get Will Levis, why? There's no one worth it. That's why I've said, if you really want to draft a quarterback, next year's the year. Move heaven and earth and go get Caleb Williams. If you really want to draft a quarterback, next year's the year where you go get a quarterback in that class. This class, Listen, I was talking to someone about Bryce Young. If Bryce Young was 6 foot, 6'1", he'd be my Q. It would be him or Levis. But, man, I just can't get over 190 pounds, 5'10". Like, Tua has had injury problems, but the guy came in the league taller than Russell Wilson, just under, in between 6 foot to 6'1". And the guy was built like a brick shit house, bro. The guy was 210, 215 coming to the league. And now he's back to where he is. Bryce Young, I think he's great in the pocket. I think he's a great passer. But you want to talk about actually be worrying about – we're not talking about a guy with Kyler Murray athleticism here that can just get out and get away. Like, I said this to EM Dolphin fan yesterday. I said – to Martin. I said to Martin yesterday, I said it'd be different if he had Kyler athleticism and he could just get out of the pocket and run around but he doesn't have that. And now he's not going to have the best offensive line in the world. Now, if he does go to Houston, he'll have a decent offensive line. But now you're going to go against guys who are going to penetrate and more athletic guys off the edge. I'm going to be honest with you. I would not be surprised if Will Levis and CJ Stroud. And again, I think Bryce Young is better than CJ Stroud from a passer standpoint. But I would not be surprised. CJ Stroud got better as a processor as the year went on a little bit. Still struggled against big teams. But the size and the traits, I would not be surprised if Bryce Young falls behind those two guys. I really wouldn't. Because I'm going to tell you this right now. I would definitely not. Yeah, I don't know if I'd invest a number 1, number 2, number 3 pick on that. I don't know, man. So for me, it would definitely it would definitely. Will Levis, I'm telling you, man. If he goes, this is why if I'm Houston, I draft Will Levis. You got Pep Hamilton there still. What are you saying? Like, literally, what are you saying? You have one of the few quarterback whispers. Like, that's why it'd be great for us to, if we were in the position to, draft a guy like Will Levis, because we got Darrell Bevel in the building. Like, and I'm very intrigued by Hendon Hooker. Very intrigued by Hendon Hooker, but he's going to go pretty high, I think. I don't know if he's going to drop, that far. Because I remember when he was at Virginia Tech. So, and he's been in Tennessee since 2020, I believe, right? So, listen, it's too like Anthony Richardson. All these guys are way too expensive. You know what I mean? Like, I'm good on that. I'm really, really, really good on all that. Unless you were gonna go after a quarterback, Will Levis is the only one I'd move up for. I'm telling you, man, we got Darrell Bevel in place. Anyone that's got a quarterback whisper in place and that's drafting high, move it to go get Will Levis. I'm telling you right now. That's the advice I'll give to any of our enemies. Looks like the Jets are going to have to do that because Aaron Rodgers don't want to go there and no one wants to go there, right? So, anyways, love draft seasons here. And I saw someone in the comments was asking what I think about was it John Michael Schmitz? Someone's asking about what I think about John Michael Schmitz. Yeah, buddy. Everyone knows I've been watching Minnesota since Tyler Johnson was there. I've been watching Minnesota like pretty hardcore for like 3 seasons now, and big fan, big fan. I actually, I like this draft class. Big fan of John Michael Schmitz. Big fan of Luke Weipler out of Ohio State. Ricky Stromberg. Remember he was potentially going to come out last year and he stayed back. Fan of him. I think it's a decent center. I think it's a decent center class. I think it's a decent interior class if you want me to be completely honest with you. I think it's a very decent I think it's a very, very decent interior class. I think it's worth talking about. Like I took, where did I take? I did a mock yesterday and I took Voorhees at I traded back and I got some picks and maybe I'll see if I can bring that up for you guys so you can see what I'm talking about. But I drafted Voorhees like right before 100. I'm just a big fan of the interior on this draft. There's a couple good tackles too, don't get me wrong. But I'm not sitting here, going goo goo gaga over guys late on, Like I like Torrance out of the guards, like Torrance, I like Voorhees, Ekiyor out of Alabama, Nick Broker. There's a lot of good guys. There's some good tackles too, man. There are some good tackles in this class. I know Neil's a huge fan of Jalen Duncan, but he's also a Maryland fan, so but Skoronski, he's a beast. Paris Johnson, I like Paris Johnson. I know, everyone knows I've been loving Darnell Wright, and Darnell Wright had a huge week at the Senior Bowl. I love him. I like Tyler Steen as a fit at right tackle too. I know Cody Mock came up a lot of people's because of what he did at the Senior Bowl. He really rise for a lot of people. But there's some good tackles too, man. It's draft season, baby. Draft season. But you know what? Draft season don't matter until free agency happens. Free agency, we got Zion Nelson in the 3rd. Zion, I think, if you want my honest opinion, I think you can get Zion beyond the 3rd, brother. I don't think you're gonna need to go uber high on Zion Nelson. But I think he's staying. I don't even know if I don't think Zion Nelson even declared. Because I remember I took him in a mock, and then after I did that mock, I'm pretty sure he's staying. People in the chat can let you know if he's staying. I don't know, but I'm almost positive he's staying. But even still, I think he's staying because if he came out this year, he was not going to be going high. He's actually hurt his draft stock. So, Destin says, I'll check the chat. What's the chat saying here? What's up, J Boy? Jeremiah Kelly said he's staying. Yeah. Oh, Destin says he grew up with Broderick Jones. That's sick, bro. That's sick. There's Jim. We're gonna go over when I do my free agency. I'm gonna be doing a video, right? I'm gonna be doing a video every year. I drop a video talking about, and then give my list of top free agent targets. I think last year I did 20 players, so I'll include all 22 for like the top 5, top 10 players and all that kind of stuff for you guys. Oh, you want to see my mock? Yeah, hold on. Let me send. I didn't prepare that, so let me send that here. Let me just send this, and you guys can see my mock. I just did it I did it like yesterday. It's not anything crazy, but it actually ended up working out for us pretty freaking good, to be honest with you. I ended up taking a safety actually with our first pick because of who dropped in our lap. So, because especially with what we're doing right now, I've warned all y'all, and now I see people are starting to talk about it. I warned all y'all that it might be a wrap. Might be a wrap for that boy Brandon Jones, and he might just become a sub-package guy, mainly just package situations. So we'll see how that goes, but that's what it seems like it might become. So let me just bring this up here. All right. One sec, guys. All right. This was my mock. Boy's got a clear space on his phone. All right. This was my mock. So I had Jordan Battle fall to us at 57. I traded back, actually, because I didn't like how the board was falling. And the trade that I did make was I traded pick 51, which they ended up taking a tight end, Darnell Washington, with. I traded pick 51 and 178 for pick 57 and 102. I took Jordan Battle to be the strong safety combo with Javon Holland. At 77, I took Jack Campbell. There's our stud linebacker, right? Boom. I still think we'd spend money on a linebacker in free agency. So, Zach Charbonnet. I mean, everyone knows how much me and Neil absolutely love this kid. Zach Charbonnet is an absolute stud, man. Absolute stud in my top 4 running backs of this class. So, we got Zach Charbonnet at that number. Oh my God, I'd be doing backflips. I think he'll be gone. Honest opinion. But hey, dreamers can dream, right? And then next, obviously, I talked about him. I'm a huge fan of Andrew Voorhees. I took him at 102. Fuck that, to me, that was absolutely tremendous value. Absolutely tremendous value. And like I think Jordan Battle, I think is tremendous value. I think that's probably the best strong safety capable guy. Yeah, I passed on my boy Devin A-Chain, but I'm not going to take Devin A-Chain in every mock that I do, right? I can't do that. Now, I wanted some corner depth, and the pickings were mad slim at 2. I mean, as you can imagine, Like, let's be honest here. You think at 240, absolute studs were sitting around for me? I don't think so. But, you know, out of Michigan State, 6 foot, 162, good length to him. He got invited to the Hulu Bowl, did Stephen Gilmore. So, he's just got really good length, man, and a good ability to flip his hips and, a pretty smooth footwork. So, just needs to, for me, he needs to, get a little bit more physical. A little bit needs to add a little bit more physicality to his game. But that was really just the flyer I took at 240, right? That's it. Flyer I took. But, man, I'm happy with that draft. I am happy with that draft. But, again, these mocks don't matter for me until after free agency. Someone just asked me to pull this up and show the mock I was talking about earlier. So, meh, is what it is. Everything's going to change with the combine, right? Everything's going to change. So, I know everybody wants, all of a sudden people want to draft a tight end high. I had Michael Mayer fall to me in one of those, in that first mock that I showed you guys, but that's just no way in blue hell that's happening. Tight ends, I like Darnell Washington. I like obviously Michael Mayer. Dalton Kincaid's pretty good. I like him. What's his face? Payne Durham had a pretty good Senior Bowl. It's just why. We got Hunter Long in the building. We got Durham Smythe. Do I want to spend high capital on a tight end right now? Go back to Tua's Bama days. As Tua had been known as a guy. Has he been known as a guy that really overly utilizes his tight ends? Look, Mike Gesicki had a drop in numbers across the board. Why? Because no one was injured, so he didn't need to be targeted. They're also developing Tanner Connor. And they moved him from wide receiver to tight end, right? And he runs like a 4.4 or something like that. He runs like a 4.4 or like a high 4.3. I don't see the need in investing in a tight end high. Come on, man. And we'll get into the needs right here, but no. No. We need a tight end that can play on special teams and that can play tight end, fullback, that can line up in the backfield, that can block. I'm not worried about finding the next George Kittle right now. There ain't many George Kittles. So, that's just my opinion on the situation. Now, do we need a tight end? Could we use a tight end? Yes. I think depth tight end, though, not a starter. Okay, so everyone's telling me Flores got the Vikings DC job. And this is why I'm not a fan of that. Brian Flores just got the Vikings job. And it's the DC job, if I remember correctly, right? See, here's my thing with that. I needed him to get the Denver DC job because I needed Sean Desai. I needed Sean Desai to be out of luck with a job. And now it looks like Brian Flores, just 4 minutes ago, the Vikings are set to hire Steelers senior defensive assistant and linebackers coach Brian Flores as their new defensive coordinator. Hey, let me ask you this. Let me see if I can pull it up for you guys here too. Let me ask you this. Byron Jones, you need to go? Byron Jones, huh? Maybe? There you go. Steelers assistant coach Brian Flores is accepting the Vikings defensive coordinator job per source. So there you go. Just about 7 minutes ago. Just about 7 minutes ago, that was done. And we needed him to go to Denver because we wanted Sean Desai on this side of the pond. But it looks like Sean Desai is going to end up in Denver. So probably Ed Donatrell, like I reported weeks ago, will be coming over with him. And maybe a guy like Chris Richard can be part of that staff. I don't know. But, hey, do y'all need Byron Jones over there in Minnesota? Huh? Need that Byron Jones money? What do you need? We got you. We'll send him over there. We'll send you over there. No issue. All right, let's get into this. Let's start off. We're going to start off with the needs, and then we'll get into the Kamara stuff. So let's start off with... We'll start off with the most boring one. How about that? That sounds like a good idea, huh? We'll start off with the most boring one, right? Guess what? Heading into free agency, the Dolphins need a punter. Thomas Morstead, and I got good news and I got bad news. Thomas Morstead was really good for us. Now, you ready for the bad news? There ain't many good options available right now. When you actually take a look at the free agents available, we're talking like Bradley Pinion from Atlanta, Andy Lee from Arizona, Thomas Morstead, who said he's retiring, Sam Martin. There is really nothing overly appealing. Brian Gonzalez says he wants Matt Ariza. I'll take a Morstead for one more year if you don't draft someone. But good God, we need a punter. Now, Fledglam's still on the team and stuff like that. But we may need a gunner when this is all said and done. And we're going to need special teams depth. But we definitely need a punter. And Jason Sanders, be happy that I didn't put kicker on here. But we do need a punter. We do need a punter. So, I don't know. You know, that's interesting. I'd see if I could bring back Thomas Morstead for 1 year. He did really good. Listen, I don't care that he's going to be 37. He did pretty good when the 1 year we gave him the shot. So, punter. All right. Offense. This is what we need on offense heading into free agency. We need a backup. I had to put it in brackets because I don't want people starting these lies and these rumors that, oh my God, reason. And I mean, this isn't really in order, but it is in the sense of tight end's the last need. So, backup quarterback, for me, get this done in free agency. You got to spend money on this position. I know people don't like to hear it. I don't like to say it, but that's the truth right now. Spend money. Go get a legit. We got to upgrade from, Bridgewater. It is what it is. So, I don't know what that means for Skylar Thompson, but you've got to upgrade. And I don't. That's why. Listen, everyone knows I love Jake Haener. I love Tanner McKee. I'm intrigued by Clayton Tune. I'm intrigued by Max Duggan. But screw all of that. Go get me a Baker Mayfield. Go get me a Taylor Heineke. Go get me one of these guys that I know can come in and win ball games. Because we're too far along to be depending and hoping on. I mean, do you really want to walk into the season hoping that Tua stays healthy and a 7th round pick takes the next step in his development? Listen, that's too many what ifs for me. I only want one what if. I want if Tua stays healthy, and then I want the best. I want such a good insurance policy behind that. Geico can't even offer it, all right? That's what I want. Number 2, running back. I mean, we don't even have a running back under contract right now. Literally don't even have a running back under contract. In fact, we have 44 players under contract right now. 0 of them are running backs. Now, Salvin Ahmed can come back because I think he's still restricted. But, yeah. I mean, Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, Salvin Ahmed, Myles Gaskin. They're out, baby. We got no one under contract right now. Shout out to Miami Breaker. Says, keep up the great info at the park. My son got b-ball practice listening to you. I appreciate you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for supporting the channel, Miami Breaker. Goes a long way, especially in the offseason. So, I mean, and people are looking for a name for, I mean, give me Alexander Madison and a draft pick. I think Madison could fit in this offense. You're not getting Dalvin Cook. You're not getting Dalvin Cook. So, I mean, maybe you can get an Alexander Madison and add him to this. And Alexander Madison's been very, very consistent throughout his career. So maybe you go for an Alexander Madison and a draft pick. Remember, and I got to go back. I'm going to flip back. I know there's some of you in the comments section. I know there's some of you. Remember when I did the Xavier Howard trade scenario, because the trade rumors were rumbling heading into the 2021 draft, right? The Jalen Waddle draft. Remember? And what did I say the top trade I wanted was? What did I say? Can anyone remember? Does anyone remember? I'll give you guys a minute, 20 seconds. Put it in the chat if you remember what my number 1 trade in that video was. And there were people in there like, who's that? Like running it out of the building. Thank you, Rome. Thank you, Rome Gray. I said trade me Tony Pollard and a first, because Pollard's stock was not where it is right now. I said trade me Tony Pollard and a first. People laughed. People like, who's Tony Pollard? I don't want him. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah? Let's revisit that one now. Who would have, after what you saw this year from X, who would have won that trade? Right? Because what was my idea? With that first round pick, I was going to draft a corner and slot him in there for X. Freaking genius now when you look at it. And imagine Tony Pollard in this offense. Pollard is not a situational back at all. Pollard is a legitimate number 1. Tony Pollard is not a situational back. Ezekiel Elliott is now a situational back. That's what's happened in Dallas. Tony Pollard turned him into a situational back. Now, he's torn his Achilles or whatever, or his ACL or whatever it was, but Tony Pollard turned that man, Ezekiel Elliott, into a situational back. And if he wouldn't have got hurt, he would have been out the door. He would have been, yeah, sure, he's proven he's an every down back. There's been tons of games where he's outsnapped Ezekiel Elliott. There's been tons of games this year where Tony Pollard outsnapped Ezekiel Elliott. What are we talking about here, man? Tony Pollard is a legitimate running back 1. Legitimate running back 1. Legit. Bro, now, yeah, it's not Zeke, but Zeke is garbage, bro. Pollard is offers more in the passing game, more effort in blocking. Pollard is an all-around back. Pollard is an absolute freaking stud. Pollard is definitely a running back one. He would have got paid like it. So, all right, back to this. Right tackle. Everyone knows I like Darnell Wright. There's guys in this in the free agency class: McGlinchey, Caleb McGarry. Jawan Taylor is probably going to make it. Jawan Taylor's because of Cam Robinson and how Walker Little played. Jawan Taylor could be hitting there's going to be right tackle options for days. Yeah, I talked about that, Ian Baller. Good hire for them, bad hire for us. We needed him to go to Denver so Sean Desai could come here. That actually kind of might shoot down Sean Desai to Miami. Because it was basically down between Desai and Flores for Denver. Okay, now I have left guard and center here. This is why. Pick one or the other. Either draft a guard or sign a guard, or draft a center or sign a center. And this is, or you could sign a guard and draft a center. This is why. Connor Williams only has 1 year remaining on his contract. He was already a top 10 run blocking left guard coming into this team. Now we've cross-trained him. And I'll say what I've said. He's an all-pro after the snap, for the most part, as a center. Before the snap, there's still a conversation to be had. But they're basically pricing him out of Miami. So, this is what you need to do. You need to either figure out the left guard situation and lock down Connor Williams, or you need to kick Connor back to left guard, and you need to draft a center high. Because remember, look at the guys that I've wanted and been banging the table for the last couple of years. Tyler Biotish, starter in Dallas. Creed Humphrey, top 5 in the NFL right now. Look at the guys over the last couple of years that have come out. So, you got to figure it out. Because Connor's only got 1 year left, and I'm going to tell you right now, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Be afraid. He's going to want money. So, I mean, you know, that's just what it is, man. He's going to want money. So you got to get ahead of that one. You're going to have to get ahead of that one. I'm sorry. You just cannot let that. Don't let that creep up on us. That's way too important of a position. Man, I wanted Corey Linsley. They didn't get him. I wanted them to draft Creed Humphrey. They didn't draft him. Hell, I even wanted them to take a flyer on Robert Hainsey last year. They didn't. And Robert Hainsey ended up being a top 10 graded center this year when he played. So, they're going to have to do something, man. You know, you were talking about, and then I got tight end filler there, right? Tight end, you're going to need depth. We're about to talk about Kamara in a second. Brother, go make the trade for Eric McCoy. See if they're willing to split up any of those guys on that offensive line, Cesar Ruiz or Eric McCoy. See if they're willing to look at what Luke Fortner did. And I wanted Luke Fortner last year. Look what he did for the Jags. Look what Tyler Linderbaum did this year for Baltimore. Another guy I wanted. So, you're going to have to, you got to, the great thing about, I always talk about Kansas City, right? Kansas City, the Chiefs. When you look at the Chiefs, they got ahead of when Mitchell Schwartz, I apologize. Mitchell Schwartz was a top 5, top 3 right tackle in the NFL. All right? And what did they do? They still drafted Lucas Niang to try and get ahead of that. And they got moved off of him the next year. This is what you do, man. You try and get ahead of the curve. You draft the guy a year too early so he can develop. So once that contract comes up, listen, we can't afford you, sir. I appreciate you. Good day. Like, that's what I want to start seeing. I want to start seeing us get ahead of the game. That's what I really want to start seeing, us get ahead of the game, man. Seriously. Not scrambling to find a replacement at the last second always. It'd be nice to be developing players so they can come up right behind. We can let guys go, and we start churning out linemen. Like you see the Ravens and such do. And then defensively, this is what I got for defense. Strong safety. Listen, with Fangio now, this is why I waited until Fangio was done. We need a strong safety now. Sorry, love you, Brandon Jones, but you are now a package box defender. And those 2 high shells, I can't trust you to go up there in those 2 high shells. I just can't. Sorry. I mean, we could run 2 high shells with, Needham and, you could try Needham there. You could try Verone back there. I don't know. But when you start rotating and shifting guys up into the box, with Verone up there, you'd have to shift Javon into the box. Linebacker. Do we really even need to talk about this? Y'all already know what time it is with that. Again, we got 44 players under contract right now. All right? 44. And some of the guys that are walking, Sam McGuavin, Andrew Van Ginkel, Melvin Ingram, Duke Riley, Alandon Roberts. Linebacker core is being depleted. If it was already depleted with the talent there, now the depleted talent's leaving. And then cornerback. Listen, I think Byron Jones is gone. This is more so a depth. I want to see what Trill has. Nick will be back. We got Kader Kohu in year 2 next year. So this is more like of a in terms of depth. It's not so like, hey, if you want to go add a starter, knock yourself out. Thoughts on trying Noah at strong safety, my friend? It is over. It is over, EM Baller. It is done. The oven has dinged. Open the door and take it out. Noah Igbenogany is done, sir. I don't want to see him unless he's running onto the field during a TV timeout or an on-the-field timeout with Gatorade bottles for our players. I don't want to see him on the field. Done. Zero coverage skills, man. Zero. And I agree with what Topher says. He just doesn't have the intellect and the brains for safety right now. Doesn't have the IQ. So, yeah, that's a no-go for me. That's a ball game, get reasons money ready type thing. You know what I mean? It's over. It is over, ladies and gentlemen. Like Vince Carter in the dunk contest. It's over, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to the Raptors. You already know what time it is. You already know if you didn't. All right. Let's get into the Kamara thing. This is what we got here. So, for Alvin Kamara, this article from NFL Analyst Network. Man, I got something in my freaking eye. 3 teams you should consider trading for Saints Alvin Kamara. The New Orleans Saints, once again, in the worst salary cap position in the NFL heading into the 2023 offseason. That could lead to some veterans getting moved to help elevate their money concerns, including running back Alvin Kamara. 2022 was better for Alvin Kamara than 2021, but that isn't saying too much. New Orleans has struggled mightily to get the run game going the last 2 seasons as teams don't respect their passing game. As a result, production was tough to come by for the 5-time Pro Bowler. With only 1 season of guaranteed money left on his contract, Alvin Kamara could be a prime candidate this offseason. New Orleans needs to get their salary cap situation in check, and he was a player that garnered some trade attention ahead of the deadline this past season. Where could he end up? Should he be traded? Here are 3 teams who should consider making a deal. So number 3, they got the Buffalo Bills. Ahead of the 2022 trade deadline, the Bills got in on Christian McCaffrey sweepstakes. They fell short in that pursuit as McCaffrey was traded to the 49ers, while Buffalo ended up acquiring Nyheim Hines from the Indianapolis Colts. Hines is a candidate to be cut as the Bills have a rough roster and salary cap situation to navigate this offseason. So we don't want to see that. But number 2, they got the Dolphins here, and they say, there isn't a team in the NFL that needs help at running back position more than the 2023 Miami Dolphins. In 2022, there were 5 different players listed as running back that took snaps for the Dolphins. None of the 5 are under contract for 2023. Chase Edmonds was traded to the Denver Broncos, while Jeff Wilson Jr., Raheem Mostert, Salvon Ahmed, and Myles Gaskin are all free agents. Looking to take some pressure off Tua Tagovailoa in the passing game, the Dolphins need to upgrade at running back. Alvin Kamara would be the perfect fit for this offense, given his skill set as a pass catcher, but after ranking 25th in the league in rushing in 2022 and 31st in attempts, Kamara would be most useful as a reliable source of production on the ground. After making splashes to upgrade the passing game, it is time for Miami to give the running game some attention. And then number 1, they got the Philadelphia Eagles. And why? Because the Philadelphia Eagles were the one team that were engaged the most with New Orleans at the trade deadline for trade talks. So they were legitimately fielding offers for Alvin Kamara. Listen, here's Alvin Kamara's contract situation, because I know that's going to be the next question people are going to have, right? Like, well, what are we dealing with contract here? So right now, you got the out after this year. And this is his last, I believe this is his last year of guaranteed money. He's only got like $1 million guaranteed, but his cap number is $16 million this year, and then $16 million next year, $27 million, and then $2 million. So you'd have to restructure the hell out of this deal. Now, if you restructured him, you'd be moving money around, and I don't know. I think the smart thing to do if you were to trade, and I'm not talking about just Miami, the smart thing to do if you were to trade for a guy like this is restructure his deal and void some of those years so the cap numbers can get taken care of. But I'm going to tell you this. Eric McCoy, Alvin Kamara, they need to be on the phone. Cesar Ruiz, they need to be on the phone, because I don't think they're trading Ramchuk. They need to be on the phone with New Orleans, and they need to be seeing what you can take. I mean, you could probably get New Orleans to take some money and a little bit less, because Kamara, it looks like he's going to miss. They said he's not going to deal with the outcome of that whole incident he had last offseason. He's not going to have to deal with it till 2023. So he could miss 4, 6, 8 games this year. And I mean, you could cut that into that's a negotiating tactic for us. You draft a guy, you bring Raheem Mostert back, and then you let Kamara come back. Very interesting stuff. Listen, would I personally trade for Alvin Kamara? No. The price would have to be right. The price would have to be so freaking right. That's the kind of skill set. Like, that's why the intrigue is there with Jamar Gibbs in this offense. That's the kind of skill set you want. You know, Kamara, listen, I'm going to tell you this. Kamara on a team-friendly contract would be unbelievable in this offense. Unbelievable. There are a couple free agents, though. Like, and there's a couple guys in the draft class. I see someone asked me, they donated, what do you think of Tank's Bigsby? I've been talking about Tank all year. Huge Tank Bigsby fan. Huge out of Auburn. There's a lot of running backs in this class I like. I think, listen, you want my play? You go bring back Raheem. Bring back and you go get another running back. And then you draft one of these guys. Like, listen, I'm going to tell you this right now. I ain't going to be mad this year if I'm not going to be mad this year if they draft a running back high. I'm just not going to be. So, Kamara is very interesting to me, though, because, man, that skill set in Miami, I'm telling you. That's like, man, that'd be like Austin Eckler on steroids in Miami. Like, that would be ridiculous. He'd be unbelievable. But again, it's a pretty good free agency class for running backs, right? I mean, look at the guys you got. Saquon's going to be out there, but I think he'll go back. Kareem Hunt's a free agent. Jamal Williams, if he doesn't go back, look at the year he had with Detroit. Josh Jacobs is a free agent. So, you know, Miles Sanders is a free agent if you want a cheap guy who's not going to just break it. Damien Harris is intriguing. James Robinson is a free agent. I mean, there's just a lot of – it's a pretty deep – you know, I don't think you need to trade, right? I just don't think you need to trade. You know, I've said this from day one. Go draft Devin A-Chain from Texas A&M and put that 4.2 speed in this offense and watch it go to work. Just watch it go to work. Like Austin Eckler vibes on crack. That's what that'll be. So, all right. Concussions. Does Tua have a concussion problem, or does the NFL have a concussion issue? I want you to check this out from ESPN. NFL says regular season concussions increased 18% in 2022. That is not good, ladies and gentlemen. The NFL acknowledged last Friday that concussions rose significantly during the 2022 regular season, a sobering outcome that aligned with a season-long public conversation about head injuries. According to data released by the league, there were 149 concussions suffered over 271 games this season. That's an 18% jump from 2021, which is only 126, and a 14% higher than the 3-year average of 130 between 2018 and 2020. NFL Chief Medical Officer Alan Sills on Friday attributed the rise to a number of factors, including a protocol change that he said broadened and strengthened the definition of a concussion following a series of injuries suffered by Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. We continue to become more cautious and conservative in our evaluation and diagnosis of concussion. I mean, I just wanted to show you this. Look at that. That is a significant leap in concussions and listen, they're trying to pin that on Tua, but those rules didn't change till midseason, and how many really got held out because of Tua that didn't have a concussion? Let's stop. So I thought that was just very interesting. Very, very interesting to me. Very, very, very intriguing stuff right there. And speaking of Tua a little bit, let's get the haters mad. Should we get the haters mad? Let's get the haters mad. So look at Tua. This chart got released today by Summer Sports, and it is an EPA chart. It is the EPA per play against top half defenses and bottom half defenses. How are you reading this, you might ask? Check this out. Mahomes was number one against top half defenses in terms of EPA. Joe Burrow was number 2. Tua Tagovailoa, number 3 in EPA per play against top half defenses. Now, when you look to the left, number 1 against bottom half defenses in EPA per play was who? Jimmy Garoppolo. Number 2, Tua Tagovailoa. Tua Tagovailoa was number 2 in EPA per play against bottom half defenses, and he was top 3 in EPA per play against top half defenses in the NFL this year. Let that boy cook. Let that boy Tua cook, baby. Woo! The analytics just keep coming out in favor of the young gun. Yeah, I'm a huge Zach Charbonnet fan. We talked about him a little bit earlier in the show. Huge Zach, but shout out. Man, keep hating. Keep hating. How could you possibly hate? Man. For all of you that be wondering about Tindall, interesting article came out from the homie Barry Jackson. And this is what Barry Jackson said in regard to the Channing Tindall stuff. He said, Tindall offers candid assessment of rookie season and where he stands. Rookie Channing Tindall arrived in Miami off a 5.5 sack season for Georgia and a national championship run culminating in a sterling performance in the title game against Bama when Tindall spied quarterback Bryce Young, had 8 tackles and a sack, and tantalized NFL evaluators with his speed and instincts. That turned out to be his last meaningful defensive action of 2022. Tindall's rookie season in Miami was largely forgettable, featuring only 9 snaps on defense, 167 on special teams, and 3 tackles in 16 games. And the Dolphins seemingly are no closer to knowing whether the third-round pick can eventually become an effective starting inside linebacker. He admitted recently that it took him a while to master the playbook. The NFL playbook is very different from a college playbook, Tindall said. It took me a while to grasp it. I feel I'm in a good spot now. Even to this day, there's stuff that's confusing to me. Around midseason, that's when I started picking it up. The Dolphins have said he didn't play because he's behind 3 solid veterans in Baker, Roberts, and Duke Riley, but there was more to it than that. Tindall said he sometimes moved too quickly in games or practice without giving himself enough time to process what the offense was doing. Sometimes I tend to move a little too fast, he said. Move too fast instead of letting everything play out. And linebackers coach Anthony Campanelli has implored him to use my hands more often and more effectively. I like going downhill, and I don't always use my hands, Tindall said. Listed at 6'2" and 232 pounds, Tindall said he needs to get stronger this offseason because these linemen are big and fast. When the Dolphins drafted him, the hope was that he would become, at the very least, an effective pass rusher with the potential for a more expanded role, but coaches decided against creating a special pass rush package for him, something that likely will be revisited this offseason with new defensive coordinator Vic Fangio. His measurables are just stupid. 4.47 in the 40-yard dash, 42 vertical, 11 broad. Louis Riddick said after the draft, this guy, if he does make a mistake with his initial footwork, he's going to make up for it because he can absolutely fly. These Georgia linebackers get off blocks. He can blitz, he can cover, he can play the mic, he can play the ball, he can blitz. This kid right here, I don't understand why he fell to the 102 pick. I know people don't value linebackers, but this kid's a good player. McShay said he's not great at coverage because of change of direction skills. I don't agree with that. I think it's more so he hasn't had the reps. He doesn't have great redirect skills, but you get him on a straight line, he's the fastest probably any linebacker in the class. He was also good at spying quarterbacks. So the Dolphins had Tindall spy Justin Fields early in the November 6th game, but abandoned that after 5 snaps, and Tindall never played another defensive snap the rest of the season. Was not playing more on defense a disappointment to him? I'm okay, he said. This year was a learning experience. I really enjoyed my year, learning what it takes to be an NFL player and have routine on this level. I know what it takes now, so I'm going to do everything I need to do. I'm good with where I'm at right now. So there you go. Channing Tindall openly admits little slow grasping the playbook. It's still confusing to him at sometimes. Well, guess what, kid? It's about to change. So here's hoping. Here is hoping that the change doesn't drastically affect him and set him even further back in his development, because Channing Tindall is a gentleman we need to take a massive leap this year, especially when we got no one on And we got no linebackers on the team, basically. So look at this, guys. Since the realignment happened, so like since the Colts left the AFC East and went to the South, look at the conference championship since realignment. The Cowboys, the Commanders, the Lions, the Browns, the Dolphins, and the Texans have never been to a conference championship since realignment. Only 6 teams in the NFL. We need to change that this year, gentlemen and ladies. That needs to change this year. And bringing in Vic Fangio and upgrading the way we would do, it should change that very soon. I believe, listen, Fangio here, I believe even before we hit free agency in the draft, if Tua stays healthy and Fangio's here, I see AFC Championship, man. I really do. This is an AFC Championship contending team, if you ask me. So, and then finally, guys, I just wanted to show this quote from Patrick Surtain here, who took the job at Florida State. It just speaks to the volumes of what's being built here. If you look at this right here in this article, shout out to him getting the job and just getting better. Shout out to Patrick Surtain, man. So, Surtain met with local. If you look at right here, we'll start right here. Surtain met with local media on Wednesday for his first interview since his hire. He's been serving as a defensive assistant coach for the Dolphins in 2022. Probably not, Surtain said, on if he would have taken another college football job. It's still the state of Florida. Like if Minnesota called me, I would have stayed with the Dolphins. If Washington or Washington State would have called, I would have stayed with the Dolphins. But Tallahassee, 5 hours away from home, with an iconic program like Florida State that's getting back to the glory days, that was the perfect situation. So lightning happened in the bottle twice with the Dolphins, and then Florida State. I'm ready to leave my mark on the program. So again, you got another coach, just like Darrell Bevell, saying, listen, I believe what's being built over there. And the perfect opportunity needed to come around to pull Patrick Surtain away from the Miami Dolphins. And it did. And we wish him the best of luck, man. We really do. Guys, tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, I will be live. Me, Martin, Ball Game. We will be doing the film study, breaking down some Fangio calls and coverages and terminology. Film study will be coming tomorrow. Me, Ball Game, and Martin. Be sure you're on the lookout for it. It's going to be a doozy, man. Got about 21 plays and 12 different coverage calls. You're going to want to keep an eye out for that. That'll be tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Part 2 of our 2-part series. We dropped part 1 last Tuesday. If you haven't seen it, go back. Now we're going to take you into the film room tomorrow after last week when we took you to the chalkboard work, when we broke everything down. We put everything in front of you visually so you could read it, you could absorb it, and take it all in. Now we're going to start applying that to visual stuff, including I will go over fist, pounder, and finger. You will see that right in front of you. So be sure you guys tune in tomorrow. I appreciate each and every one of you. Over 350 of you in the room still. Smash that like button on your way out. Love each and every one of you. And before you get out of here, guys, Big Vic Energy is available. Phinside The NFL.com/shop. T-shirts, hoodies, mugs. The Big Vic Energy has arrived in Miami, and you can rock it now. If your name's Vic, how are you not getting a piece of that merchandise? Phinside The NFL.com/shop. Go check it out. Big Vic Energy, baby. YouTube members and Patreons, you get a special discount code. I appreciate each and every one of you for coming through. Fins up all day, every day. I will see all y'all tomorrow for the Vic Fangio film study.